Hey, it's Grant here, and today I want to talk to you about small business finance. Are you confused when you've got to register for VAT? Have you heard phrases from accountants, your accountant, friends and colleagues that you're a bit unsure about? Or is it something as simple as, what is an expense? Well, don't worry, I've got you covered. I've teamed up with my friends at Osome, a great accountancy package, to answer the most pertinent questions when it comes to small business finance. This is a Q&A session that I recorded last week with one of Osome's small business accountants. So sit back, get a pen handy, and because of Osome, this video is now completely ad-free. So without further ado, and that's enough waffling from me, let's get straight into this video. Talk about what is the main role of an accountant in an e-commerce business. Yes, who needs one, and what are the benefits that it can bring?
So I think there are two elements to it. The first is understanding the industry itself, the e-commerce industry. And the second part is that you need an accountant when you do business normally. And so we'll talk about both of them. Now, as a knowledge element, e-commerce is a very specific industry, and it works in a very specific way. The VAT is very complicated, and the trades is different, and so you're involved in a lot of different elements, like different countries and different types of e-commerce businesses, whether it's arbitrage, drop shipping, or personal branding. Each of them work in a very different way, and the bookkeeping and accounting is done in a very different way. Now, recently I've been having difficulties in understanding and differentiating a person from a dropshipper to a marketplace. Even a slightest tweak can make your marketplace, but dropshipping is more better in terms of your sales threshold. So all of this knowledge, you need someone specific in e-commerce and specializing in e-commerce to know. Like Brexit, for example, had a big impact on e-commerce. And there's another thing coming in 1st of July for European e-commerce, which will be a completely different way how you do business in e-commerce business in Europe. So the first part of that is the knowledge bank that an e-commerce specialist brings with them when they're dealing with your books, right? And doing it accurately is the best part. The second part is why you need an accountant. Anyways, it's because you need your books in shape. So there's a legal requirement by HMRC that you need your books at least for the last 5 years in a way that it's readable and accessible. If they knock your door and ask you for any specific transaction, you should be able to provide that. If not, then you can be in trouble. You need to declare your taxes in the right way. If you don't, there could be penalties and fines. Again, an accountant knows how to do that and can help you do that. And finally, providing that valuable information to you. So if you get an accountant for you from day one, if they do your books on day-to-day basis like we do, you know exactly what's happening with your business finances wise. And they can be, rather than being a traditional accountant, they can be your partner and give you that valuable information as and when you need it. Which of your products is actually making you profits? Which of your products is more valuable than the other ones? Which market are you best selling? So all of this information is coming from your accountant to you, and you don't need to worry about it. So those are the two main elements that I believe helps, especially the e-commerce market with an accountant.
No, absolutely, and you touched on some great points there. And I guess, and I've spoken to colleagues and friends as well, especially about keeping your accounts up to date. And I won't mention any names, but I've got a very good friend who knows his deadline's coming up. He waits till there's a week out until his deadline of filing his accounts are, and then there's a huge panic, and he has literally boxes of receipts and this sort of stuff. So, in your opinion, what's the best sort of approach for you? Is it something for accounts that you keep on a weekly basis, monthly, or is it best to do that? What seems to me that horrendous approach where you wait for like a week out? How would you suggest that a small business or an online seller actually manages and keeps top of their accounts?
Look, we are promising day-to-day bookkeeping. And one of the reasons we are doing is that we know how much valuable it could be and how much great information it provides you. So traditionally, and that's how, I've worked in many different accounting firms, and the majority of the way it works is when the quarter is due, a month before a quarter, we used to get these big boxes with all of the invoices in it.
Yes.
And we would literally sit down and alphabetically put them in order and then put them on the system. Again, accounting is changing. The whole dynamic of this is changing. Everything is going automated. automation, and AI is getting involved as well. Now with Osome, what we do is this basic part where I mentioned, is sequencing all the invoices and putting into the system. All of it is now done by the system itself.
Yeah.
There are many accountancy firm out there who have opted into it. We are one of the first ones who are also trying to get this automation in place. None of our bookkeepers or accountant in-house enter any of the invoices manually. Anything that you send to us get uploaded. Now, why are we doing this? Why is the whole accountancy industry focusing and investing so much into this? Is because doing that provides you on-spot information about your business.
Yeah.
It will give you information on how much you owe to people, how much people owe you, who are your next payments for suppliers, how much cash you have in the business, and do you have enough cash to buy the next great deal from your supplier. All of that information can only be provided to you if you're doing your bookkeeping on regular basis.
Yeah.
If you're not, then you're literally just either making the best guess or you're just going with luck. And again, in businesses with how competitive the e-commerce segment is, you have to be on top of everything. And that's why I believe bookkeeping and accounting should be done from day one. I know this answer has gone longer than it should be, but one last point on this is, if you go to an accountant, let's say a week before your VAT deadline, your accountant then needs to go 3 months worth of your bookkeeping in one go. Along with the rest of their or other deadlines they have. Now, the two situations. So either one, the first one would be that the accountant will say, I'm sorry, I'm overly booked at the moment and I don't have anyone else to work on your book. I can't take you. Or if they really want that sale, they will take you on board, but they will charge you a premium because they will work extra hours on it.
Yeah, good point.
So going to an accountant from day one, you will not pay that premium and it will be more relaxed for your accountant as well. So, your accountant will be happy as well. So financially, money wise, it's not beneficial for you to just go to at the end. It's the same. It's either probably it's cheaper to go from day one because you're distributing work throughout the whole period.
Yeah, and I think as well, and I've seen that in that personal circumstances, I've seen the stress that it causes the individual sitting there. And I know, looking at Osome, you've got on the dashboard, you've got a countdown to your deadline for certain items. So why would you not? It's there for a reason. It's there to sort of, take the best approach. And I don't think you want that stress. It just doesn't make sense to me. So
yeah.
You mentioned that actually you picked up on VAT. So what it says for UK sellers, what is the VAT threshold these days? I know it's bounced around historically. So what is it currently sitting at? What sort of sales do we need to do? And is it sales as in how much you sell? Is it how much you make? How do you work out the VAT aspect?
Okay, so this has changed a lot, especially for the e-commerce segment. VAT is one of the important but complicated areas at the minute. Different e-commerce segments means different VAT treatment. So if you're a dropshipper or you're a UK seller, you will have different VAT thresholds. So start with the basic. If you're a UK seller buying goods from the UK and selling into the UK, your basic threshold is £85,000. And that is based on the total sales, not the money that you receive in the bank account, but what you have actually sold. So for example, if you're on Amazon or Etsy or any other marketplace, whatever your selling price was is when that reaches £85,000 in last 12 months, then you have to register for VAT. Right. So please differentiate between the money that you receive in your bank account is not your sales figures, right? So yeah, if you're a UK based business, you're doing Amazon arbitrage, or you have a supplier in UK selling in UK, that's your threshold. If you are a dropshipper who is selling goods from outside the UK at the point of sale, again, that's a bit of a mouthful. So when you make the sale, when someone buys a good from your website, at that point, your goods or your inventory was not in UK. It was outside the UK.
Yes.
Then you need to register for VAT from day one. But again, there are different conditions to that as well. If you're selling on a marketplace like Etsy, Amazon, then you don't need to register. Your marketplace will collect the VAT on your behalf and sell it to the consumers and pay the VAT to HMRC. So that's the new rule from 1st of January.
Right.
But if you're not on a marketplace, sorry?
From 2021.
From 1st of January 2021, yes.
Perfect. Okay, yeah.
If you're not on a marketplace, if you're on Shopify or you've made your own website, then you have to register for VAT personally, and do all of collecting the VAT and submitting the VAT from day one, regardless of any sales. Even the first sale, you need to do that. So differentiate again, and that's where the complication is coming in, right? If you're a drop shipper, even within drop shipper, if you're in a marketplace or not, you have to answer all of those questions to come to conclusion that do you need VAT registration or not. But for simplicity purposes, if you're in a marketplace, you don't, but your sales price would be 20% extra because Amazon will charge extra, or Etsy will charge 20% extra.
Yes. Yeah.
One last point, again, e-commerce is a very big topic, and VAT is a very big topic in itself. But just for some complexity, if you are bringing goods into the UK from outside, then you have to pay import VAT on it as well. And then you have to decide, do you need to claim that import VAT, and should you register for VAT or not? So there are quite a few bits and bobs that you need to understand, and that's where a specialist of e-commerce comes in help you decide what to do with your VAT.
Sure, and that's when Osome obviously comes into its own, because you've got that, you can reach out to people, get that advice, get that service, and you can understand a bit more about that.
Definitely.
So yeah, you talked about, and I think a lot of people, I know, especially small businesses when they're on platforms, they get very much confused about, well, what's what. So these are the sales, this is the profit, but that's really what I get in my bank account. So it can get quite confusing, and I think a lot of people get confused around expenses, don't they? And in an e-commerce world, what is an expense? So have you got an example of what could be classed as an expense in an e-commerce world? Because it's not quite as simple as say, well, actually, I've gone out for dinner, that's an expense. So it's a little bit more complex than that, I think, isn't it?
I understand, and I get that question a lot. So let's start from the beginning. You make sales. That's the money that you're receiving from your clients, right? Customers. If depending on which marketplace you're, Amazon, Etsy, they will deduct your fees for using their platform, commission, marketing, and payout fees. All of those fees are your expenses. So you reduce your sales by those expenses, and you get the money in your bank account after that. Then you have everything that you have bought to make that sale. So if you're paying your dropship, your suppliers for stock, all the money that you paid for the stock should be considered for your expenses. There's a bit of a complications to it. Initially, when you buy a lot of supplies, that's your inventory. So that's not an expense, but it's a value to your business as an inventory. Okay. But as and when you sell that, it is moved from inventory into expenses. So just be mindful of that. I've seen a lot of people buying £10,000 worth of goods this month and only sold 5,000 of it. Then they recorded £5,000 losses. That's not how it works. All of the 10,000 goes to your inventory. Of that, you sold £2,500 worth of goods, which sold for 5,000. Then your net profit is £2,500. So just be mindful that inventory goes to asset first and then moved into expenses. Again, going back to the expenses, so that will give you a gross profit. After that, you reduce your sales, your gross profit by all the admin cost. Now, admin cost, the simplest logic for admin cost is any expense that you would not have spent the money if you were not doing this business, right? So imagine if you were traveling to different places for Amazon arbitrage and buying goods from different marketplaces, you would have not taken that journey if you were not doing this business. Mm-hmm. You had to take that journey because of this business. You should be able to claim that money back. You're making phone calls, you're using the internet, and you're calling people, then one mobile phone is again claimable. I'm sorry, Grant, I think you had a question there.
No, that's absolutely right. And I think that was actually a great way of putting it. Actually, what would you have spent that you wouldn't have done if it wasn't for your business? Yeah. And I think that's actually probably the best way I've ever heard it being put, if I'm honest with you, because a lot of people get very confused and they hear, well, I can actually claim this back, I can claim that, I can claim this back. And actually defining it in that box makes it
exactly. There is one thing to it, but sometimes people do confuse. So, for example, if I'm out at the moment and I'm on my Amazon arbitrage hunt, and I got hungry and I'm now getting a sandwich and a drink,
Yep.
That again is not a claimable expense, because if you're running your 9 to 5 job and you are doing lunch, normally
Yep.
that lunch is not that comes out of your personal pocket.
Of course, yeah.
So again, with everything, have a logic behind it. As long as there's a logical reason behind it, you're able to do that. Client entertainment, again, with e-commerce, there's not much client entertainment, but those are the type of expenses you're not able to claim back, because those are not considered directly related to your business. But yes, as I mentioned, anything that's related directly to your business, you can claim that back. As we mentioned, stock, telephone bills, traveling. If you have a website, your website cost and things like that, basically.
Perfect. Yeah, and that, as I said, I just go back to what it says. It just that how you put it makes actual perfect sense. And I think the problem is that whilst the internet is great, people sometimes Google too much, don't they? And I've seen someone claim this, I've seen someone claim this, and that's where it gets a little bit murky, I guess. And I guess that leads on to my next question, I guess, is what you've demonstrated here is not, it's a bit more about Osome as a product, but having an accountant onboarding, engaging with them from almost day one. My personal opinion is that most people don't do that, but I think what you're really doing here is you're giving a case for that. You're saying actually bringing an accountant on board and having them for that advice and that service from day one, it will be beneficial for the lifetime of your business. And so talk to me about that. When do you think you should engage with an accountant as a small business? Is it what I said from day one? Is it when your first set of accounts are due? When's the best point to start engaging?
So look, HMRC says that as soon as you make £1,000 or anything above £1,000, you now need to start declaring your tax. Wow. Anything below £1,000 is treated as trial and tested, and it didn't work, and it's not a business anymore. It was something that you tried, so if you personally made more than £1,000 in sales, then you need to declare taxes on it, right? So at that given point in time, you now need an accountant to do your taxes for you. Yes, you can fill the form ups yourself as well, but there could be complications, and there could be understanding that you don't understand, and you will need some help. 1 year down the line, when you go to an accountant for that help, they will charge you, as I mentioned previously as well, that premium to going to them at the very last minute.
Yes.
Until unless it's someone, an individual, an independent accountant who just wants clients, he's growing his business, then he might take you on board without any extra cost. But generally, if someone comes to me 2 days before the corporation tax deadline, I will charge them a premium, because I will probably spend nights on it,
yes.
next 2 nights.
They got a job for you.
Exactly. So that's basically how it works. So what we have done is we have divided the whole cost of your full year into month basis, and we were probably we are trying to reduce that cost and that effect to you. So majority of people who do not want accountant from day one is the first element is cost. Mm-hmm. It will cost them too much. But with us, with this model, we are reducing that fear of you. If you came on board, you made more than £1,000, you paid us for 3 months, and after 3 months, for whatever reason, the business did not go and you did not make that money, you can cancel the contract and move on. It's a rolling contract. So you don't have to get bound with us for the whole year. It basically, if you're happy with us, you keep on paying us. If you're not happy, we won't bound you. So in those essence, the answer to your question would be find an accountant who is reasonable in terms of pricing, knows the niche, and will work along with you as a partner rather than a service provider.
Got it.
And that's what will help you with those valuable information to make business decisions as well.
No, absolutely. Yeah, that makes 100% sense. And I think I guess in some of these questions that we've answered and asked so far, I think what it really explains is that there are some givens, and there are also a lot of expertise needed and a lot of questions. What can I do? What can't I do? And a lot of systems, unlike Osome, you're left to go on your own, aren't you? It might look pretty, it might always be available 24/7, but if you've got a question, where do you go? And from what I understand, I think Osome provide a free consultation, don't they, or some sort of advice and issue to see if it would be worthwhile. So talking about that, I guess there's a free consultation available via Osome, and how could a company, if they think that Osome could be a fit for them, how would they go about that?
Yes, definitely. So with this channel, anyone watching this and who wants to now book a free consultation with me or one of the other experts accountants, then there would be a link, I believe, Grant, that's provided to you.
Down below. Yes. Yep.
And they can use that link to either come on board and they get discounts, plus they can also ring us and give a reference of Grant, and when they do, then they can book the next consultation in. We normally, the consultation that we do for e-commerce specialists is a paid consultation, but with Grant's reference you will get the first one free, and then obviously you can decide. But on ongoing basis, so imagine if you come on board, you get the first month, I believe you get some money off from your reference.
Yes, discount first month.
And
yes.
Now you become a client of ours. What you get on regular basis is unlimited consultation over the chat. So we have created a WhatsApp-like app where you can send us pictures and text, chat to us basically. And our promise is to reply to that chat within 24 hours. So you can ask as many questions as you want, as long as it's within the basic accounting and tax realm. If you ask me about mortgage, I won't be able to answer you, but as long as it's about taxes and accounting, you will get a response. So you get unlimited support basically. Yeah. And then we also provide phone consultation once a quarter or something like that. So yes, book a free consultation from Grant's reference for your next one. And when you come on board, you will also have an ongoing support for the rest of your life basically.
Perfect. I mean, that's great. And I think that's what people get worried about, don't they? And I've always said to colleagues and friends and other people I know in business that there are two areas I'm not great on. One is anything to do with legal, anything to do with numbers and finance. So there are the two areas I always think you can, sometimes you can have a guess, probably shouldn't be saying that, but you can have a guess. Might be educated, might not be, but on the rest of the circumstances, you just need to get advice for that, understand what's going on, don't you? That's the key part about that.
Exactly.
So, I think that covers Osome in a nutshell in terms of, you've got the online service there, you've got the support behind it, it's really intuitive. And I think what people need to really understand is actually Osome, whilst as an accountancy service and a platform, you've got people like yourself sitting there, professionals understanding what's going on and can provide that advice. And that really, as I said, even thinking about it, the availability which you touched upon there is really key. If you had a traditional accountant and a piece of software, the two sometimes don't work together necessarily or not integrated. And I think as well, I think of years gone past, if I want to speak to my accountant, I have to book that call in, or obviously not when it's COVID, but you'd have to go and see your accountant, arrange that time, the journey time. That WhatsApp type idea or that app is a great idea. You can just sit there at home in your pajamas, 11 o'clock at night, you think of that burning question that's prompted you, and you can just literally get on there and ask that question, which I think is actually a great idea. So
it's very informal. It's not like call up a secretary, book an appointment or something. It's very informal. Yes. Literally just text, hey mate, can you help me with this situation, and you'll get an answer. And I know I have to be very professional when I said, but it's more like friends working together rather than accountants and clients.
And I think actually a lot of small businesses would warm to that. I think as soon as you have to engage with someone, again, legal or an accountancy, that there's that fear that either you're asking a stupid question or that as a business owner you should know that. But as a small business owner, you're dealing with your Amazon, your Etsy, your arbitrage, you're dealing with marketing, product creation, creative, all these things. And actually, I don't know what you feel, but for me, there is no stupid question, because you probably heard some of the most crazy questions you'd ever think of. But they need to be answered, don't they? So I think that's an absolutely key point there. So that's good. No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much for your time today. That's only answered a few snippets, and I think what we'll do, hopefully, is get people to answer some or ask some questions in the comments down below, and hopefully have a follow-up session, and we can deal with maybe something more in depth. If people look at certain tax elements or VAT or even the European angle. So actually, if I'm UK based, selling into Europe, what the difference is, or vice versa. European selling into the UK, how does that affect my tax position and what I need to do? So that's absolutely great. Yeah, thank you very
I
much for
think
your
that, that
time.
would be one of the great topics to discuss as well, because as I mentioned, from 1st of July, things are changing on e-commerce realm in Europe. And if people understand how that could be, they can come back to European market and touch base those customers that they've missed out on after Brexit. So definitely a session on that would be great. But again, it depends on what actually people need, and we'll cover whatever they need.
And I think, as you say, it's the great thing about e-commerce is that unlike a traditional bricks and mortar where you're opening your doors and you've only got the footfall of the local community, your doors are wide open to everyone, aren't they? So if you've got the opportunity to sell into Europe, and I think a lot of people's stumbling blocks are generally around complexities around accountancy, isn't it? How do I do that? How do I account for that? It worries me. It scares me. And again, having Osome on the phone or via an app or via the dashboard or via the messaging and getting that question answered fairly quickly can alleviate that stress, that worry, that anxiety. And all of a sudden it's full pelt, you full steam ahead, and you can start, you can have an international business without all the worries around the accountancy. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much once again for your time, and we'll see you again for the next video.
Thank you, Grant, for having me.
Yeah, thank you.